Hey you! Did you know any of these curious facts? 1. The world's largest piano was built by a 15-year-old. In 2009, the Alexander piano was the largest piano in the world. It was built by Adrian Mann in a friend's farm shed in Dunedin, New Zealand. Incredibly, Adrian was just 20 when he completed the instrument. Mann first had the idea to build the Alexander piano, which he named after his great-great-grandfather at the age of 15. Intrigued by the workings of the instrument, he noticed that the copper-wound bass strings sounded different from the other strings. He discovered that larger pianos with longer bass strings and fewer wound strings had a much better tonal quality. 4.5 years later, with a combination of learning, sheer determination, knowledge, luck, and sometimes pure coincidence, Mann completed the massive 18-foot-long instrument. 2. Elvis was originally blonde. Elvis Presley was actually born a blonde, as one portrait hanging in Graceland shows. His hair started to darken somewhat in adolescence to a light brown. But aspiring to look like his heroes Tony Curtis or Marlon Brando, Elvis began darkening his hair deliberately and dramatically. Not having the money for consistent dye when he was young, he opted for a homemade remedy. His hair looked as black and glossy as shoe polish because it was shoe polish. Elvis believed black hair made his natural, bright blue eyes stand out, an effect also accentuated by dark eyeliner. That was a trick he learned from one of his idols. 3. An Italian banker is considered a modern-day Robin Hood. Gilberto Basquera diverted money from one account to another to approve loan applications from customers with fewer resources. He moved 1 million euros in the course of 7 years. It all began in 2009, following the financial crisis that shook the world. At the time, Basquera was a bank manager and had received a loan request from a client with few resources who was denied. The banker bypassed the initial denial of the credit application, moving money from an account with more resources, thus causing the loan to be approved. He created a kind of alternative financial system for years and hoped that the people he helped would be able to return the money. But that didn't happen. The hole in the accounts was discovered by an employee who warned the authorities. Basquera was fired, but first, he called each of the customers from whom he took money to explain the situation to them. 4. The largest Japanese population outside of Japan is in Brazil. According to the Association of Nikkei and Japanese Abroad, as of 2022, about 4 million Japanese live in their adopted countries, with the largest of these foreign communities in Brazil numbering about 2 million. 5. IKEA is actually an acronym. The Swedish multinational conglomerate that designs and sells ready-to-assemble furniture, kitchen appliances, decoration, home accessories, and various other goods and home services started in 1943 by Ingvar Kamprad. It has been the world's largest furniture retailer since 2008. The brand name IKEA is actually the initials of founder Ingvar Kamprad, Elmtarid, the farm on which he grew up, and Agunarid, the nearby village. 6. There is an island called Just Enough Room, also known as Hub Island. This island is located in the Thousand Islands chain. It sits on the St. Lawrence River between Hart Island and Imperial Isle, close to the U.S. border with Canada. The island is known for being the smallest inhabited island, getting its name because there is just enough room for a house, a tree, and a small beach. The island was bought in the 1950s by the Sizeland family, who wanted a holiday getaway far from everyone and everything, so they built a house there. 7. There is an underwater version of rugby. Unsurprisingly, it's called underwater rugby. It's an underwater team sport where two teams try to score a negatively buoyant ball that's filled with salt water into the opponent's goal at the bottom of a swimming pool. It originated from within the physical fitness training regime existing in German diving clubs during the early 1960s. 8. There is a town in Nebraska with a population of 1. Many of the cities with the smallest populations in the world have resident numbers that can be counted on a single hand. But there are some towns where it only takes a single finger to count. Such a town is Monowi in Nebraska, with a population of 1 and dubbed America's tiniest town. Monowi is an incorporated village in Boyd County in northern Nebraska. It seems almost all of its former inhabitants had the same idea to skip town until its population dwindled to just 1. The settlement was platted in 1903 when a railroad reached the site. A post office opened in Monowi and continued to operate until 1967. Back then, Monowi had 3 grocery shops, a church, a school, restaurants, a prison, and a population of 123. But after 1930, it soon went into decline as its younger residents moved to the cities. Its population fell to 16 in 1970, and then 2 at the turn of the millennium. The greater context of the decline was the rural economies collapsing throughout the Great Plains after the Second World War. The sole resident of this one-horse town is Elsie Eiler. She acts as mayor and grants herself a liquor license. She also produces a municipal road plan annually so that she can secure state funding for the settlement's 4 streetlights. Every year, Elsie Eiler, as the mayor and tax collector, continues to file the required county and state paperwork. Besides being the mayor and the bartender, she is also the librarian. 9. Mercury and Venus are the only 2 planets in our solar system that do not have any moons. This happens because they are both too close to the sun and its gravity, so they wouldn't be able to hold on to their own moons. 10. The saying, opposites attract, is actually a common myth. For decades, psychologists and sociologists have pointed out that the idea that opposites attract is a myth. In fact, almost all the evidence suggests that opposites very rarely attract. People are actually attracted to those who look like family members, or those with a similar personality type, as it provides the sensation of familiar comfort. 11. The unique smell of rain actually comes from plant oils, bacteria, and ozone. Back in 1964, a pair of Australian scientists began the scientific study of rain's aroma. In that study and subsequent research, they determined that one of the main causes of this distinctive smell is a blend of oils secreted by some plants during arid periods. When a rainstorm comes after a drought, compounds from the oils, which accumulate over time in dry rocks and soil, are mixed and released into the air. These airborne oils combine with other compounds to produce the smell. In moist, forested areas in particular, a common substance is geosmin, a chemical produced by a soil-dwelling bacterium known as actinomycetes. The bacteria secrete the compound when they produce spores. Then, the force of rain landing on the ground sends these spores up into the air, and the moist air conveys the chemical into our noses. 12. Vanilla flavoring is sometimes made from something else. For years now, there's been a rumor swirling on the internet, scaring everyone from home bakers to dessert enthusiasts alike. There may be castrium in some artificial food flavoring. For those of you who have never heard of castrium, it's a heavily scented brown or tan goo that is secreted from a beaver's castor gland, which is located close to its anal gland. Beavers use castoreum to communicate with each other about marking territory, establishing colonies, and deterring predators. Despite its less than ideal origins, castoreum smells pleasant. In the past, castoreum was burned by the Romans in lamps, and trappers have been relying on it to lure in animals since the mid-1800s. It has also been a natural food flavoring for nearly the last century. And yes, it has been used as a replacement for vanilla, raspberry, or strawberry in some flavorings and food items. Beaver butt ice cream, anyone? 13. Cruise ships have morgues. Most vessels are required to have a morgue and additional body bags in the event of an emergency. The morgue, usually a small stainless steel refrigerated room on the ship's lowest deck, accommodates between 2 to 10 bodies, depending on the size of the vessel. Surprisingly, the average number of people that die on cruise ships per year is 200. 14. A suicide attempt cured a young man's mental illness. In 1988, a man by the name of George suffered from a severe OCD and a phobia of germs. causing him to wash his hands hundreds of times a day and take frequent showers. He was a straight-A college student, but the behavior had forced him to drop out of school and quit his job. George was also very depressed and told his mother that his life was so wretched that he would rather die. Her response was, "If your life is so wretched, just go and shoot yourself." So George went to the basement, stuck a .22 caliber rifle in his mouth, and pulled the trigger. The bullet lodged in the left front lobe of the brain, destroying the section of the brain responsible for his disabling, obsessive-compulsive behavior without causing any other brain damage. Surgeons removed it but could not get out all the fragments. When he was transferred to Shaughnessy Hospital in Vancouver, 3 weeks later, he had hardly any compulsions left. George had also retained the same IQ he had before becoming ill. 15. There's an underground pipeline that transports beer. The underground pipeline is located in Bruges, Belgium. It's 2 miles long, traveling from the brewery to the industrial bottling plant. The pipeline feeds the plant with enough beer to fill 12,000 bottles an hour. Taking just under a year to construct, it was completed in September 2016. The ultimate reason why the mayor of Bruges said yes to this endeavor? Not to keep the citizens happy and give them an endless supply of beer, but because the brewery is located in the historic city center, and having beer tankers driving in and out of the city would kill its touristic charm. 16. Medieval chastity belts are a myth. According to modern myths, the chastity belt was used as an anti-temptation device during the Crusades. When the knight left for the Holy Lands on the Crusades, his lady would wear a chastity belt to preserve her faithfulness to him. However, there is no credible evidence that chastity belts existed before the 15th century. Research into the history of the chastity belt suggests that they were not used until the 16th century and only became widely available in the 19th century as a medical device. 17. The Guinness Book of World Records was created after an argument. Originally, it was called the Guinness Book of Records, the ultimate authority on record-breaking achievements. It started as an idea for a book of facts to solve arguments in pubs. The idea came in the early 1950s when Sir Hugh Beaver, managing director of the Guinness Brewery, attended a shooting party in County Wexford. There, he and his hosts argued about the fastest game bird in Europe and failed to find an answer in any reference book. In 1954, recalling his shooting party argument, Sir Hugh had the idea for a Guinness promotion based on the idea of settling pub arguments and invited the twins Norris and Ross McWhirter, who were fact-finding researchers from Fleet Street, to compile a book of facts and figures. After an initial research phase, work began on writing the book, which took 13 and a half 90-hour weeks, including weekends and bank holidays. Little did the McWhirters know that Taking Shape was a book that would go on to become an all-time bestseller and one of the most recognized and trusted brands in the world. 18. Cold showers have more health benefits than hot or warm showers. A warm shower after a long day at work can feel restorative. Or maybe a cold shower is just what your body craves to get up in the morning. Regardless of the type of shower you prefer, you're likely to feel better stepping out than when you stepped in. Cold showers keep your hair shiny and your skin hydrated. Cold showers can temporarily tighten our pores and help you retain the natural oils in your skin and hair. Those prone to dry skin or concerned about dry, brittle hair might consider rinsing off with cold water every so often. Cold showers can also improve mental health and boost immunity as they stimulate the production of noradrenaline and beta-endorphins. This chemical reaction may have an antidepressant effect on some individuals, heightening their immune system and making them more resistant to illness. The cold water also puts your circulatory system into overdrive, causing your heart to pump more efficiently and causing overall circulation throughout your body to improve. Switch up your shower routine and dare to turn the nozzle the other way for a change. As your body fights to stay warm, the heightened reaction will temporarily boost your metabolism and help you shed some weight. 19. Originally, bumper cars were not supposed to hit each other. Bumper cars for adults and kids alike are one of the most iconic, popular, and long-lasting amusement park rides out there. First introduced in the early 1920s by a company called Belgium, bumper car rides have been a hilarious and unpredictable way to unleash pent-up energy for the last century. However, the whole point of bumper cars was to avoid collisions, thus the name of the company, Belgium. There was a good reason behind the original purpose, as a collision avoidance game. The cars would usually fall apart upon impact, as the ride would often have difficulty starting again and would often need to be nailed back together at the end of every day. The cars' flimsiness was due primarily to their construction out of tin, a material that provided very little protection or durability. 20. The Vatican had music that was forbidden to be copied. During Holy Week, in the Vatican's Sistine Chapel, as part of the exclusive Tenebrae service on Wednesday and Friday, this was the only time and place you could hear Allegri's famous Miserere me Deus being sung. It was a big tradition since 1514. A total of 12 Misereres had been sung at the service, but his 12th one, composed in the late 1630s for Pope Urban VIII, was by far the most popular. The Vatican knew it had a winner on its hands with Allegri's Miserere, and wanting to preserve its aura of mystery and exclusivity, forbade replication, threatening anyone who attempted to copy or publish it with excommunication. But teen Mozart was hungry for a challenge, not prone to doing exactly as he'd been instructed if he didn't see the rationale behind it. So, as he and his father attended the Wednesday service, he listened to the incredible choral music. After the performance, his brain set to work. Late into the night, he wrote it out from memory, note for note, all 12 minutes of choral contrapuntal music. The exact notes of the composition had been kept a secret for over 100 years, until 14-year-old Mozart shared it with everyone. And there you have it. From the unexpected origins of IKEA's name to the clandestine beer pipeline in Bruges, we've traversed the curious corners of human ingenuity and oddity. Who knew a teenage Mozart could outwit the Vatican, or that the world's largest piano was the brainchild of a determined 15-year-old in New Zealand? These facts remind us that the world is full of surprises, sometimes quirky, sometimes profound, but always fascinating. They inspire us to look beyond the ordinary and find the extraordinary in the most unexpected places. So next time you're enjoying a vanilla ice cream or contemplating a cold shower, remember the hidden facts that make our world so wonderfully weird. Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more tales that will tickle your curiosity and maybe even spark a few laughs. After all, life's too short not to marvel at the peculiar and laugh at the bizarre. Tell me in the comments below, which of these facts did you already know and which you found to be the most interesting? Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring. Catch you in the next video.